Take a look at some of the footage of these wildfires sweeping through LA right now. It is insane. Imagine being trapped inside your house with that going on outside. Bloody hell. And what I'm going to delve into today is how the powers that be prioritized everything except stopping this from happening. At least 10 people have already been killed. 180,000 have been evacuated. And 200,000 more are under evacuation warnings. And the costs of this damage could be over $10 billion. I mean, it's just mental what this is doing right now. And the irony is, and we'll get to this, is how they could have spent significantly less than $10 billion to stop this level of devastation from happening. For a start, we've got the fact that the fire chief warned the mayor last month that the 17 plus million that she'd cut from the budget of the fire department severely limited the department's capacity to prepare, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires. It's so damning when you look at what the mayor found money for other things, such as social justice art worker investments, which 170,000, no problem. You then got the Midnight Stroll Transgender Cafe, 100,000, just so transgender people can get their skinny white lattes or whatever the fuck you call them. I mean, what the fuck are we playing at here? And you see them saying we haven't got enough firefighters, we haven't got enough firefighter equipment even. And then a couple of years ago, you see that they gave away a whole bunch of equipment to the Ukraine. Now, I'm not saying that would have been the difference maker of surviving this and beating this, right? Whatever the amount of equipment was, it was a fairly substantial amount to make a point of it in the news. But the irony isn't lost on me when you look at the fact that they are crying out for equipment and money in this situation to beat this situation. And yet, we're talking about 17 million being cut when they're donating billions to the Ukraine and sending over firefighting equipment. That's insanity. At least start with yourself and then look after everyone else. Do you know, like on the aeroplane, do you know they say sort yourself out, then help the other ones put the masks on? The LA Fire Department donated supplies in March 2022. Fire agencies in Santa Barbara County donated supplies in April 2022, and the city of San Jose donated $1 million worth of safety equipment in July 2022. It's like donating to charity when you can't even afford to pay your own rent. And of course, you know, you could say, well, they didn't know this was going to happen, did they? Well, They fucking did, because people like Joe Rogan and Donald Trump have called this way in advance.
I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons that freaked me out. And he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a fucking thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it.
Los Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it? I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north of water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires.
They dump 200 billion gallons of water into the ocean to protect this fucking little fish instead of actually using that for their forests, for their firefighters. It's the definition of insanity. And it's funny because Trump was actually ridiculed for some of this shit.
And you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it.
You're not allowed to touch it because there's people trying to preserve the situation for owls. And we're just letting loads of dry wood just sit there as an accident waiting to happen, and people are fighting for these owls in court. You couldn't make the shit up.
18 months it becomes very dry. It's like, you know, like real firewood. It's bad. But when a tree is up, it sucks water. It's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California, and I said, you know, you had a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, You could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall,
Right.
they're like, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call it maintain your forest. So I was with the head of Austria. He said, it's a shame. I see all those forest fires in California, and all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves.
This was fucking months ago. Like, he was literally talking about this just before the election. That's how obvious this was. This is where it gets even more ridiculous. They did a study in 2024 to check how much of the dead trees were out there. 91 million spread over California. 91 million. If you're playing those odds, it's not looking good, Chief. It was an accident waiting to fucking happen. And they knew it, and they did nothing about it. That is going to become more and more clear the further this video goes on. And here's another red flag ahead of time where they did their annual fire hydrant testing to check everything's working A-okay. It seems like they do it once a year on December 24th at 8:30, and that was suspended in consideration of the department's current operational and fiscal challenges. The annual hydrant testing schedule for the beginning of this year will be temporarily suspended. The decision reflects the need to prioritize safety. I'm not sure how checking things are okay is going to impact safety. It should help it. But resource allocation and emergency response capabilities in the light of the following. Meaning we just don't have the fucking time to check everything's working. That is basically what they were saying there. Absolute, joke. The people of LA were let down massively. If you can't even do your basic maintenance, well, what the fuck are you then? And you begin to question, how the fuck is this operation being ran? And what makes it even more interesting is the hiring process. And one guy has gone into great detail on his experience.
I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps. And I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago, and she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege.
You have to laugh, right? Because this guy obviously wanted to be a fireman many, many years before he got the chance to, and that other people just get fast-tracked because he doesn't tick a certain box. It's a joke, really. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, because they actually set up a DEI bureau within the fire department because they called it a crisis that there weren't more female firefighters. I'm not joking. That costs a lot of money, by the way. We're talking a huge chunk of investment into this.
Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a fair and equal workplace environment.
Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero is live in North Hollywood with more on what it entails and why it's necessary. Christian?
Ellen, Colleen, the discrepancies are stark, even just on paper. The LAFD this year hired its first ever female chief, and it says so far this year, 8% of its applicants have been women. That might sound like a small number, but it's actually twice the percentage of female firefighters currently in the department. Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive.
This all sounds even more terrible when she talks about not having enough staff. When you realize that they fired a bunch of guys just because they didn't want to get the jab a few years ago. And I'm talking hundreds who'd been working there for over a decade. Oh, but we're in a crisis because there's not enough women. Doesn't matter how many vaginas you've got. You need water to put out the fucking fires. Clowns.
We do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
The plan is to do so by adding training and enforcing accountability. Calls for accountability have echoed for years. In 2021, 2021, women's advocacy groups, including one representing female firefighters, pushed for changes at the highest level, saying a system within the department exposes them to abuse, bullying, and a culture of intimidation and retaliation.
You just think to yourself, like, are we ignoring reality again in the fact that certain jobs are more likely to have male applicants than female, and that is fine, especially when certain jobs need a certain level of physical strength to actually be able to achieve certain tasks. I come from a deep sea diving background. If I'm in danger in the water, I need at least a 200-pound man to jump in and save my life. A woman could never. It's not possible for a woman to drag me out of the water and save my life. This is a similar scenario where you're gonna need big men sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a lot of the time. And that's fine. And if women want to get involved, great, let them get involved. I'm not saying they can't be. But to literally shun willing men and fast track women, it's literal sexism. And it's insane. Especially when in these jobs, men might be more suitable. Fucking insanity. It's fucking insane. But it's okay because it's the good kind of sexism. Yeah. All right. And here's the woman who they've decided to put in charge of said bureau.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you.
Yeah, my entire family died, but it's all right because at least the firefighters look like me. So I guess it was worth it in the end. I don't give a fuck what people look like as long as they saved my life. It does not matter as long as they're good enough to do the job. Should not matter. And it's so funny that they're campaigning as if this is like anti-sexism, anti-racism, when that's exactly what they are doing.
It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Sorry, what? You mean to tell me that through no fault of my own, I'm in a fire? Someone could have set fire to my house. I'm inhaling the smoke right now. I'm quite badly burned, and I'm unable to walk because my legs are burned. I need help, please help me. Someone, get me, put me on your shoulder, carry me down the ladder, please, big chubby woman. That sounds like a you problem to me, sir. It's not my responsibility. You've got yourself into this mess. You get yourself out of it. Fuck me. Trust a woman to make it my fault that I'm the one burning to death and she's unable to do her fucking job. You know what I mean? What the fuck am I talking about here? By the way, she's on $400,000 a year, this woman, with her double chin hanging out. Do you know the president's on 400 grand a year? She's on the same money as Donald Trump. God help us all. Because she won't. And the funniest thing is, these three women in charge who are on a fucking small fortune, Christina, and Christine, are here for diversity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but having three women all called Christine in charge of everything, it's not really very diverse, is it? Funny old thing. You can't write this shit. I'm not making this up. And there's this article which explains how they've cut the overtime budget by $7 million, which impacted the air operations disaster response, and yet they kept the DEI department. They kept funding that. Cut the rest of it. Cut the stuff that saves lives. Keep the stuff that makes people feel good. That really sums up the world I'm living in right now. Imagine I could talk to my granddad about he's fucking rolling his grave. It's eerily similar to that situation we see in Donald Trump in, where we had those women who are unable to fucking pull a gun out properly. I mean, they're not incompetent. I'm not, but kind of admittedly, they can't do the job. She's just fucking said that. And look, Joe Biden is still in charge of the country, somehow, the fucking vegetable. But Donald Trump has had a say in who he thinks is to blame for this.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side. And he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that.
So he mentioned there, much like earlier, the water situation and how Governor Gavin Newsom completely fucked it up. Someone's actually got a hold of Gavin Newsom running away from a reporter.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around.
I'm literally on the phone right this second. Oh, good. Can I hear the call? Well, I'm not technically on the phone. I did say literally, but not really. It's sort of, I'm on hold. Right, I'm trying to get through. Disconnected. Bad signal. Sorry. That is shocking, isn't it? He just literally lied to my face.
President not taking your call.
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it.
She's
I'm
great.
doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants,
That's
Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up.
He's laughing. He's actually laughing here.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally.
He's laughing. He's actually laughing. You've known so much in advance, and he's talked about this previously, and I'm going to bring a clip up from when when Biden first got in, of the promises he made and he failed on. He fucking is directly part of the problem here, and he's laughing. Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson actually made a comment about this guy, and I think it's worth listening to.
The wildfire situation and how crazy it is that they spent $24 billion last year on the homeless.
Yeah.
And what did they spend on preventing these wildfires?
Zero.
Not zip.
Zip. And in 2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing. Like 24 billion on the homeless problem and nothing on something that could literally wipe out people's whole lives. Now, Gavin Newsom has been made aware, obviously, of Donald Trump's criticism of him, and not just criticism, but warnings about what was going to happen years in advance, and the fact that he's done nothing. And this is how he's defended himself.
People are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder, churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts and I know what I want to say. I won't.
It's because you've got nothing, bro. You have nothing. Because I'm sure if you had anything, you'd be saying it right now.
I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden.
Biden was not aware that you were there, but okay.
This community didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
Finally, your message to the folks here, to this community.
I mean, we have their backs and we're going to be back, and this is going to be a long recovery process. But look,
clearly, he's never had their backs. And for him to accuse Donald Trump of trying to politicize this, he's literally saying, I'm frustrated. I've been on about this. You've not listened. It's not about politicizing anything. It's about you should have done a better fucking job. Simple as that. And now he's sitting there quoting, oh, people are struggling. People are this. Yeah, you should have fucking done better, you prick. And he has a clip from him from 2021 where now he says, now that Joe Biden's been elected, me and him on the same party will do a better job of this. And I'm going to get around to doing all of those things that he never got around to fucking doing.
What's different now is we are committed as a team, as a partnership with the legislature and other state agencies, including now the federal government, no longer a sparring partner, but a working partner. Federal government, where we're not addressing headwinds, but tailwinds in terms of the support, a memorandum of understanding, doubling our respective commitments to vegetation management and forest management and prescribed burns, to support the Biden administration with resources, not just rhetoric, to help this collective cause. It's a different paradigm. It's a different framework.
Absolute bollocks. He fucking lied to their faces. As Rogan said, he did not do what he was supposed to do when it came to the vegetation and all of that. He didn't do any of it. 91 million trees or something were found. Do you know what I'm saying? In 2024. You were talking bollocks. Apparently, he even cut the funding for the water budget infrastructure last year. It's not just that he did nothing, he made it worse. So we're sitting there going, all right, the governor of California is worthless. Maybe we can rely on the mayor of LA. Maybe she can do her job properly. Unfortunately, she's a bit busy. She took a little trip to Africa. So, how lovely. And here she is being questioned about the state of the situation she's left behind after cutting $17.5 million from the budget.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
Literally, she's gone 8 Mile on this. What the fuck is going on? Like, how dare you, when people are going through what they're going through, not open your mouth and answer the fucking questions? Have some respect for those victims. There's people literally lost their lives. And now, a word from our sponsors. Now, I've been doing a lot of traveling lately from Saudi Arabia to LA, and I know a lot of you've got travel plans for 2025, and there is one app that you have to download, and that app is Saily. Now, Saily is a brand new eSIM service app, and what it does is it gives you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans for over 160 countries and 8 regions, so wherever you're going, they're going to be able to make sure you're connected. Now, all you've got to do is click the link in the description below, and you can download the app to iOS or Android. Then you buy your plan, just choose the best time frame for you. Then you just install the eSIM on your phone, and when you land at your destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And with Saily, your eSIM only ever has to be installed once, so after each trip, you can turn the eSIM off, and then when your next one comes along, you buy a new plan for where you're going, switch your eSIM back on, and boom, you're back in business. And what I love about Saily is that when I went to LA, the eSIM for them was actually faster than the hotel Wi-Fi. And obviously when I left the hotel, I didn't have to worry about not having any Wi-Fi and all of that nonsense because I was constantly connected. So what you're waiting for, get sorted for your next trip away by clicking the link in the description below and downloading Saily now. Just go to saily.com/Geordie and use the code Geordie, all block capitals, all one word, to get 15% off your first purchase. And a big thanks to Saily for keeping us connected on our travels, but for now, enjoy the video. Now, to be fair to her, she did hire someone to sort this water situation out, apparently. This might shock you. It was a woman. I know, I can't believe it either. And this one is on even more than the others. She's on $750,000 a year. You're just like... You're slashing the budget for saving people's lives, and then you're fucking filling the pockets of these bozos. And this is the lady here, Janice Quinones, who is on 750 grand a year, as I said, nearly twice as much as her male predecessor. It's the same job. Why has she gotten that much of a I don't understand. Work that one out when we're cutting fucking budget from from important places. 1 year later into the job, people are dying, houses are burning down, and there's no fucking water to sort it out. Go figure. But at least we've got those female numbers up. That's what counts. Now, the mayor did eventually return from a little trip to Africa, and she gave a speech on what you need to do if you're in trouble.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters.
Wait, let me just, I want to see if this works right now. URL. Okay, this should get us some answers, apparently. Nope, nothing. I'm guessing that's because someone who wrote the motherfucking speech for her was supposed to put the fucking website address in and forgot. People are dying, and you can't even get that right. It's unfucking believable. And you look at the news stories leading up to this point. 2021, LAPD staff shortage, struggling to get enough firefighters. 2022, it scares the heck out of me. California's federal firefighter shortage has gotten dramatically worse. 2023, LA has outgrown its fire department. LAFD's 4K personnel struggle to serve population of 4 million. The warning signs have been there. And even in summer 2024, California remains short of federal firefighters as the season ramps up. And yet they fired firefighters who'd been working there for over a decade for not taking the vax.
113 LA City firefighters have been suspended without pay for defying the city's vaccine mandate. In November, firefighters who had not submitted their vaccination status or requested an exemption were informed they would face suspension and termination. The policy requires city employees to be vaccinated by December 18th. The fire department says firefighters who continue to resist the mandate will be entered into the process of termination.
Just a fucking disgrace. An absolute disgrace. And look, they took it to court, which fair fucks to them. Good on them for trying to have a bit of freedom and a bit of fucking personal choice in their life, and got fired for it. You know, the judge dismissed their lawsuit and told them to go and fuck themselves. themselves. Well, I hope that judge right now is looking at the charred remains of what used to be his house and realizing karma's a bitch. Maybe not. Maybe I take that back. I don't wish bad on people, but fuck me. What a prick. And look, I think this is a classic example of something that's quite common these days, in that the most insane things are prioritized over just giving the best people for the job. And at what point did checking boxes become more important than checking the fire hydrants are actually fucking working? Because that's the moment that this whole thing went to hell in a handbasket. Hopefully we get a bit of common sense back into society fucking soon, because people need fired. Starting with that Gavin Newsom, the prick. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this story in the comments below. Appreciate all the support you lot give me. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the True Geordie YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next one.